Tonight on your KOAM News at 9 on Fox 14, a local electric crew that helped restore power to the Gulf Coast returns to the four-state area.
Recovery efforts are underway here in New Jersey and in other parts around the Northeast after Ida slammed into the region. I'm Brian Yennis in Manville, New Jersey. I'll have that story coming up.
The four states' most watched news starts now.
Well, thanks as always for joining us tonight. I'm Mike Mahoney. Dozens of people are dead after massive floods ravaged communities throughout the Northeast. This comes as President Biden visits the Gulf Coast to assess damage caused by Hurricane Ida. Fox News' Brian Yennis has the latest from New Jersey.
Cleanup efforts ramp up across the Northeast after Ida slammed the region with heavy rainfall and devastating flash flooding. In New York City, 3 to 5 inches of rain fell in several hours, leaving motorists stranded and turning major highways into rivers. The heavy rainfall also bringing mass transit to a complete halt, and it may take days until service is fully restored. Officials say the time is now to address the effects of climate change.
We have no choice, my friends. The future we spoke about in dire terms, that future is now. It's happening. We're losing lives, we're losing property, and we cannot continue on this path.
We have to change what we do across the board. We have to change our entire mindset.
More than 60 people have been killed after Ida battered the Northeast and the Gulf Coast. Among the dead, a family of 3, including a 2-year-old boy who became trapped after water began to flood their home in Queens, New York.
There's no way for them to get out because if there's already water here, you can't really mess with the door.
Meanwhile, here in New Jersey, fires rocked the community of Manville, already devastated by Ida's flooding. The National Weather Service also confirming 7 tornadoes touched down in New Jersey and neighboring Pennsylvania.
We're slowly moving from response to recovery mode. That's going to look different in each community depending on the damage from the storm.
Firefighters continue to douse the flames in burned buildings here in Manville, New Jersey. The cause of these fires is unknown, but flooded roadways made it very difficult for firefighters to reach these buildings. In Manville, New Jersey, Brian Yennis, Fox News.
Ida could be responsible for more than $55 billion in damages when the final tallies are in. That's according to a Bloomberg report citing a disaster model from Inky Research. Before the storm hit the Northeast, CoreLogic estimated the total damage cost as between $27 and $40 billion. While the path of the storm was predicted, its strength was a surprise. Volunteers returned to Carthage today after almost a week helping those affected by Hurricane Ida. KOAM's Bronte Sorotsky spoke with crew members on how relief efforts and how they felt about making an impact after such a damaging event.
After a week of 12-plus-hour days spent restoring power to those following the devastation of Hurricane Ida, volunteer crews are returning home.
I mean, in an event like this where we have a hurricane, we have all of this forewarning, knowing that it's coming, and the level of the hurricane and the strength of it allows us to position people in a proper place, ready to go when it actually does hit land and cause the destruction. So we were ready to go.
Volunteers from Carthage Water and Electric Plant spent almost a week repairing storm damage caused by Ida.
We have, I think Carthage Water and Electric has 80 plus employees. And I think at any given moment we have 80 volunteers willing to go help and do their part. And for me, there's a great sense of pride in not only in our employees but our community that we're willing to help.
Most of their work was focused on rebuilding lines that were damaged or taken out by the storm.
We had a lot of broken poles, down poles. We had a lot of broken wire. We had trees that were down on top of lines, and so basically we were just rebuilding. The pole structures and the lines that the storm had taken out.
The team's lead foreman says even after working from 6 a.m. until 8 at night, there were times when people were still in need and their crew wanted to be of assistance.
We were pretty dehydrated and tired, and I remember a lady and her 2 kids rode up on a 4-wheeler and they just needed their power back on. So, we stayed and made sure that we got that back on. We were wanting to go home, but we stayed. That definitely made an impression on all of us.
Now, the company says they're extremely proud of their volunteers, providing these essential services to communities in need. In Carthage, Bronte Sorotsky, KOAM News.
And the team from Carthage worked alongside other four-state area crews, including those from Independence, Lebanon, Nixia, and Poplar Bluff. All right, let's talk local weather, and let's talk to meteorologist Nick Kelly. Nick.
We had a interesting day, Mike, with quite a bit of rain for some of us, especially on the Kansas side this morning. Cloud cover for everybody else. Despite that, we started at 73 at Joplin Regional, managed to top out at 94 degrees this afternoon. As advertised, we're seeing these thunderstorms ramp back up once again after we started the evening out on a mainly quiet note, and this will lead to flash flood watches for a good portion of the area until Saturday evening because of a front stalled out near the region. In the short term, we're going to see the thunderstorms on top of us continue to develop as additional rain develops out west and passes on through. Despite all of this, Mike, we'll have this drop lows back to 75. We'll see if this sticks around for the entire holiday weekend here in just a bit.
All right, thank you, Nick. Little Balkans Day started about a week ago, but this Labor Day weekend is the unofficial big kickoff. Some of today's events included the Food Truck Festival and Downtown Celebration, the first ever Drag the Gut car show, and as you're seeing right here, a quilt show featuring handmade pieces for visitors to check out.
Today was a quilt show. It's tomorrow as well. Vendors in the park, weather permitting. And then we round out with a shuttle all day long. The farmers market has live music, a bocce tournament, a golf tournament, and then we have Crochet Plays Crochet and the J3 brand starting at 6:30. It's in Memorial. We moved this show because of the anticipated weather forecast.
And elsewhere at Little Balkans Days, history came to life. Over at the Crawford County Museum, families got to check out the Civil War Living History exhibit. Folks showed what it was like living during the Civil War era. The presentation included horses and a woodworker showing visitors some crafting skills. It is now time for us to pay tribute to one of our many four-state heroes. Tonight, we recognize Andrew Moreno of Riverton, Kansas. Moreno served as a Lance Corporal in the Marines and he fought in Iraq. Thank you, sir, for your courage and your service. For more information on any of our four-state heroes or to nominate your own, just log on to KOAMNewsNow.com. The team here at KOAM News has some somber news to share with you. Here's Dow Quick.
We have heartbreaking news today. Christian Heddy, the son of meteorologist Doug Heddy, has died. Christian's battle with cancer ended at home, where he was surrounded by family. Since Christian's cancer diagnosis more than a year ago, many of you who never personally met Christian came to feel a personal connection to him. Thousands who followed Christian's journey on social media saw him express the joys and hopes of a well-loved 12-year-old with humor and courage beyond his years. Over these months, countless numbers of you, both friends and strangers, have reached out to the family with encouragement, well wishes, and prayers. The family has always expressed gratitude for your kindness, and we know they feel it today. For those of you who would like to leave a personal message to the family, we've provided a link through our website, KOAMNewsNow.com. Again, Christian Heddy was 12 years old.
We had to deal with quite a bit of cloud cover today, and certainly on the Kansas side, some rain and thunderstorms throughout the morning and even lingering in the parts of the afternoon. But we haven't seen any of that rain make it down to Indigo Sky Casino and Resort outside of Seneca, Missouri, at least not yet. We're far from done with our rain chances as we get this holiday weekend underway. On the heels of a hot day yesterday, we were hitting at least the lower 90s yesterday, 73 this morning, a quick jump to at least 93 to about 94 degrees at Joplin Regional before we saw the cloud cover really fire up and lead to another scattering of isolated showers and thunderstorms right as the late evening hours got underway. In the short term, though, the bulk of the rain that we saw today was on the Kansas side, southeastern Kansas. Radar estimates for you all suggesting anywhere from ½ an inch to 3 inches at the extreme end of things. And we're seeing some fresh rain amounts popping up closer to the I-44 corridor around Pittsburgh and Joplin because of the isolated thunderstorms that we're seeing as we go into the rest of the late night. It's a good strand of thunderstorms from Independence all the way through Lebec County, Cherokee County, Joplin northward, and then arcing back up from Mount Vernon up to Stockton Lake. None of these storms are severe, but as they really get going tonight into tomorrow, through tomorrow night for that matter, in fact until Saturday evening at 7 o'clock, you can see all those flash flood watches out. We have to deal with some heavy rainfall before we finally see a brighter, nicer end to the holiday weekend. But we're sitting at 80 in Joplin. Feels like 85, but the dew point is quite up there. It's 76 degrees. Everyone's in the mid to upper 70s to lower 80s across a good portion of the region. Temperatures will drop into the mid 70s tonight as our next round of rain and thunderstorms gets underway. Two reasons for it. Our stationary front parked right around the region. It stays in place for tomorrow. Not to mention upper level energy coming in from the west along the jet stream, which is also coming back our way. Both of those will definitely keep scattered showers and storms in the forecast off and on, periods of it throughout the course of the night. Again, I don't expect anything severe, but if anything can be strong with any organized updrafts, heavy rainfall, maybe some wind gusts pushing 30 to 40 miles per hour. But all this rain will drop us to 75 in the morning, and then with enough dry time during the day, some of us will see highs push back at least into the upper 80s. 75 in the morning, I need to change this to 83 by noon and 88 for an afternoon high. Fortunately, this is rain chances that will not stick around all weekend long. We'll have some scattered rain and storms south of I-44 going into late tomorrow night into Sunday morning. Then we're looking a lot better once we go into Sunday afternoon. And behind that system too, well, highs dropping back into the lower 80s, which will feel a lot better. In terms of rain though, over the next 2 days alone, anywhere from 1/10 of an inch to 2 inches, all depending on where the heavy rainfall sets up. Then once we get the system out of here, we look okay for the holiday weekend, the rest of it at least. Let's go 82 for Sunday afternoon, 62 Monday morning, and 87 for Labor Day, Mike, before a quick detour into the 91. But middle of next week, looking pretty good.
Hey, I'll take it, especially after the last couple of weeks. Thanks so much, Nick. Right after this short break, President Biden addresses today's disappointing jobs report.
The August job numbers were well below expectations. I'm Lauren Blanchard in Washington. What economists say could be slowing growth and what the White House wants to do about it coming up.
Spilling on a boat. Oh, yeah.
Economists and the White House were hoping for good news from the Labor Department today, but what they got was much lower than expected hiring numbers, indicating the surge in the Delta variant may be hurting the U.S. economy. Fox News' Lauren Blanchard has more.
There's no question the Delta variant is why today's job report isn't stronger.
A weak jobs report from the Labor Department.
I was hoping for a higher number.
On Friday, the unemployment rate fell slightly to 5.2%, and far below expectations, just 235,000 jobs were added in August. In July, that number was over 1 million.
I would not calculate this as the or describe this as the economy slowing down. I would describe this as we continue being consistently moving forward.
Fears over the Delta variant may be keeping some from jobs where they have to come in contact with others. Hospitality jobs remained unchanged, and retail jobs declined.
I think the Delta variant really did kind of slow some of the momentum in the economy, no question about it.
Hiring ticked up in transportation, manufacturing, education, and health. But despite a demand for new homes, a drop in construction.
Companies are in hiring mode. They want to hire. They cannot find workers.
The president and Democrats say trillions in congressional spending is needed to help keep the economy moving forward.
It's about investing in America's future. Not about short-term stimulus.
This goes the wrong direction for the problems we have, and it would fuel further inflation. Why do it?
A holiday for many, Monday is also when, for 7.5 million people, the extra $300 in federal unemployment will run out. In Washington, Lauren Blanchard, Fox News.
And as Lauren was saying, in just a few days, federally funded emergency unemployment programs are slated to expire, which means millions of Americans will lose their weekly unemployment checks. An estimated 7.5 million people will lose their benefits when 3 key unemployment programs that were established in the COVID-19 era expire on or after Labor Day. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, about 3.4 million Americans were long-term unemployed, meaning they've been out of work for at least 6 months. Economists warn that household income may drop significantly after this period, which could make it harder for unemployed individuals to find a new job. Walmart, the largest employer in the country, is giving its workers a raise this holiday season. The big box giant says they plan to increase hourly wages by $1 for more than 500,000 employees. This brings the average Walmart hourly wage up to $16.40 per hour. This also marks the 3rd time the Arkansas-based retailer will increase employee wages in the last year. Employees working on the front end of the stores can expect those raises by September 25th. Still ahead, the Delta variant is putting a damper on some Labor Day travel plans.
The CDC urging all unvaccinated Americans to stay home this Labor Day weekend as the Delta variant is leading to a surge of nationwide COVID infections. I'm Phil Keating in Atlanta with the latest. Straight ahead.
Looking for a...
Welcome back. Public health officials say vaccinations are on the upswing, but people should still take precautions over the holiday weekend. This comes as new infections lead to a nationwide nursing shortage. Fox News' Phil Keating has more.
COVID-19 complicating Labor Day travel plans this year. The CDC recommends unvaccinated Americans stay home for the long weekend. The agency also urging the fully vaccinated to gather with friends and relatives outside and wear masks indoors. But public health officials say more people are lining up to get their shots after the FDA approved Pfizer's vaccine. Around 175 million Americans are now fully vaccinated, up over 10 million from a month ago.
More vaccinations are the way to end the pandemic. And that's exactly what we continue to see. More vaccinations.
The U.S. now averaging around 160,000 new infections daily. This fourth wave fueling a nationwide nurse shortage, blamed in part on burnout and a rising number of patients. Facilities say they're now having to pay top dollar to get good help.
Having to deal with death and dying every single day, and as nurses we do that already, healthcare professionals do that, but to be doing it in such a magnified time frame is daunting.
Meanwhile, the official rollout of COVID-19 boosters could start as soon as this month, pending FDA authorization. Dr. Anthony Fauci says 3 doses are likely needed for full protection.
We have good reason to believe that that only will not be a strong response, but that it will actually be durable.
An FDA advisory panel will meet in 2 weeks to discuss Pfizer's booster shot data. In Atlanta, Phil Keating, Fox News.
A new study shows how well surgical masks reduce the spread of the coronavirus. Researchers from Stanford and Yale universities studied 350,000 people from 600 villages in Bangladesh. Different mask interventions were introduced to some villages, and according to researchers, people in the villages with surgical masks were 11% less likely to get COVID-19 compared to those who didn't have masks. The study also found that cloth masks can also help reduce the spread of COVID-19, but that surgical masks are more effective. When we return, firefighters in the Golden State are making progress against Lake Tahoe's Caldor fire.
Firefighters take advantage of calmer winds as the Caldor fire continues to burn. I'm William Lajeunesse at Lake Tahoe. Details coming up.
Firefighters in Northern California have gained a slight handle on the Caldor fire, but flames continue to threaten thousands of structures. Fox News' William Lajeunesse has an update.
Lake Tahoe normally buzzes with tourists this time of year, but heading into the holiday weekend, the area stands virtually empty as the Caldor fire rages on. Burning for nearly 3 weeks, the fire charred more than 330 square miles. Officials say the fire is about 29% contained. Calmer winds fell over the area this week, allowing crews to divert flames for now from the resort town of South Lake Tahoe, but fire managers remain cautiously optimistic with dry conditions and warmer temperatures threatening to fuel the flames.
We're in a good place right now for where we are, okay? That doesn't mean that we can't get a wind shift.
Firefighters are taking advantage of the favorable weather conditions. Aircraft and ground crews work to bolster containment lines and clear dead landscape that could fuel spot fires.
When you have massive fuel loads, you're feeding the fire, and so it's getting bigger and more intense. So if you can take away that intensity, you could bring the fire down to a manageable level.
CAL FIRE says the fire destroyed more than 660 homes so far. Damage inspection is ongoing, but the agency says about 65% of the structures have been inspected. Still, the fire threatens some 32,000.
We're working day and night to protect those homes, to bolster our containment lines, to do everything we can to save savable property.
The fire forced thousands to evacuate from Lake Tahoe, but it could be several days before many return to their home. In Lake Tahoe, William Lajeunesse, Fox News.
Lake Tahoe's firefighters are also fighting to protect the Kirkwood Resort area from the Caldor fire as flames continue to push northeast. Right now, the popular resort is safe as fire crews use controlled burns to try and steer the flames away and keep them from crossing Highway 88. The Caldor fire broke out on August 14th and has charred more than 210,000 acres. Don't go anywhere. We've got a lot more news headed your way, as well as another look at your weather with meteorologist Nick Kelly and your KOAM Sports Report with Sports Director Jacob Leonard. That's all coming up right here on your KOAM News at 9 on Fox 14.
The debate over the controversial abortion law in Texas puts the issue front and center in upcoming elections. I'm Lauren Blanchard on Capitol Hill. How some GOP states are hoping to follow the Lone Star State's lead.
Low price.
The Supreme Court's latest ruling not to halt a controversial Texas abortion law puts the topic front and center in upcoming elections. Democrats and Republicans see the topic as a motivator for voters as some GOP-led states work to follow Texas's lead. Fox News' Lauren Blanchard is back. She's got the story.
The Texas Right to Life, we are thrilled.
The Texas heartbeat law is now in effect, but the debate is not over, nor is the political fight. The issue of abortion now promising to be a rallying cry for both parties in upcoming elections. Democrats warning voters the conservative-leaning Supreme Court will continue to allow protections to be rolled back, while at least 3 other Republican-led states said they may try to copy Texas.
What South Dakota wants to do, what Florida wants to do, what Missouri will do in 3 seconds is follow their lead and also take away women's constitutionally protected rights to health care.
The White House says the president will try to take a whole-of-government approach to stop the law before other states join.
It's almost un-American, what we're talking about.
Meanwhile, in Congress,
I think it was a highly technical decision. Whether it leads to a broader ruling on Roe versus Wade is unclear at this point.
House Speaker Nancy Pelosi says this month she will bring a vote on the Women's Health Protection Act.
When we go back to Washington, we will be putting Roe v. Wade codification on the floor of the House to make sure that women everywhere have access to the reproductive health that they need.
With an evenly divided Senate, any pro-choice bill passed in the House is not likely to get the 60 votes needed in the Senate. On Capitol Hill, Lauren Blanchard, Fox News.
The Senate Judiciary Committee is planning to hold a hearing on the 6-week abortion ban in Texas. The hearing will examine the High Court's so-called shadow docket. It's the nickname for emergency actions that do not go through the full briefing and hearing process of a formal opinion. In addition to the Texas law, the court used shadow docket orders to throw out the Biden administration's eviction moratorium. A date and witnesses for the hearing have not been announced. Jacob Chansley, better known as the Q-ANON shaman, pled guilty today to a felony charge of obstruction to an official proceeding. Chansley was part of the deadly January 6 attack on the U.S. Capitol, which left Congress members hiding for safety. Chansley caught the attention of police after pictures and videos were released of him in the building sitting in the vice president's chair while dressed like a Viking, bare-chested, and carrying a spear. He is expected to be sentenced on November 17th at a district court in Washington, D.C. Ex-Cardinal Theodore McCarrick, once one of the most powerful men in the Catholic Church, pleaded not guilty this morning to child sex abuse charges. The former Archbishop of Washington, who was defrocked in 2019, is the only U.S. Cardinal, former or current, ever charged with sex crimes. Fox News' Christina Hager has details.
Ex-Cardinal Theodore McCarrick hunched over a walker as he appeared before a judge Friday.
You are charged with 3 counts.
He's accused of sexually assaulting a 16-year-old boy during a wedding reception in Massachusetts nearly 50 years ago. McCarrick had been one of the most powerful cardinals in America and claimed to be on the side of sex abuse survivors in 2002.
From now on, anyone who has this problem, who is credibly accused of this, will never work in the United States.
But the Vatican found credible evidence that he'd abused minors and seminarians for decades, leading Pope Francis to defrock him in 2019. Advocates for abuse survivors spoke outside court.
McCarrick is the tip of the iceberg. There are 46 bishops in the United States accused of child abuse.
McCarrick did not speak during the hearing. The court entered a not guilty plea on behalf of the 91-year-old and ordered him to have no contact with minors. In an interview with CBS News' Chris Livesay, Monsignor Anthony Figueredo says he spoke with McCarrick shortly before Friday's arraignment.
The first thing he said is, I do not want to end my life in this way. And even more stunning, I want my priesthood back. It's almost as if he was deluded about the damage he has caused.
This is the first criminal trial against McCarrick. He also faces numerous civil suits.
A Vatican report from last year revealed that Pope John Paul II, the Pope who made McCarrick a cardinal, knew about the allegations but ignored them. We will be right back with meteorologist Nick Kelly and another look at your weather.
Parties, feed your happy.
Some of us had to start with rain and thunderstorms this morning. We got a little bit of a break in the action to start this evening out, and certainly throughout the afternoon. But now, Mother Nature is sending us right back into the rain machine. But throughout the day, we surprisingly kept Indigo Sky Casino and Resort dry. Our time lapse just outside of Seneca, Missouri, showing what looked like a good start to the day. But while Seneca again looked dry to start the day, Southeast Kansas, you all had to deal with this batch of rain and storms that was sitting to the north and west of the region throughout much of last night. It moved on through, fell apart as it did, but now we're starting to see more scattered showers and storms. The firing line right now is pretty much right along the Kansas-Oklahoma line and then right along the I-44 corridor as you hop over into southwestern Missouri. You can see how none of these are severe. We're not expecting these to be severe, but at their strongest, a little bit of lightning with them, some heavy rainfall, maybe it's the very smallest bit of hail that you can pick up from a thunderstorm in general. But the big issue with our rain chances for the next day and a half to 2 days is the rainfall. Heavier rain on the way. In fact, that's why we have flash flood watches and even flood watches out for southeast Kansas and most of southwest Missouri north of 44 until we get past Saturday evening. In the meantime, 78 in Joplin with some rain around the area. Feels like 81 with the dew point sitting at 76. We're seeing temperatures mainly into the mid-70s and mid-80s, all depending on if you're seeing any rain or not. But our rain chances will only continue to expand with additional rain and storms coming in from the west. So why are we stuck with rain to start this holiday weekend out? Number one, the stationary front at the surface. That's a key player in keeping the rain chances around. And number two, upstairs, upper level energy riding along the jet that is returning into the region. That, both of them actually, is why we have to hold on, unfortunately, to off and on periods of scattered rain and storms overnight. But again, we're not expecting anything severe, but some of these could be loud with some lightning and certainly some heavy rainfall. We will continue to see these rain chances stick with us throughout the day tomorrow, where you see a lot of rainfall. You might be struggling to hit 80 degrees, but Joplin, for example, areas around the city might see a little dry time. That'll push us to 75 in the morning, 83 by noon, and afternoon highs around 88. Then the shift in the storms will shift south of the I-44 corridor. Then we'll start clearing things out Sunday morning and certainly for the afternoon, and with better temperatures too. The highest topping out in the lower 80s. Rain for the next day and a half to 2 days, 1/10 of an inch to as much as 2 inches of rainfall, depending on where the heaviest rain sets up. But we are not sticking with the rain all weekend long. In fact, we'll be on the cooler side of the jet. That'll keep us in the 80s for Sunday and Labor Day under partly to mostly sunny skies. Maybe a weak system with a few random storm chances on let's say Wednesday and Thursday. Then we're looking pretty dry as that upper level ridge tries to build back in. So 88 tomorrow, 82 Sunday, 87 on your Labor Day, thankfully dry for Labor Day. A few storms again possible Tuesday, then 82 Wednesday. Unfortunately, Mike, we'll have to head back near 90 on Friday.
All right, well, I'll still take what I can get. Thanks so much, Nick Kelly. And coming up in sports, we'll hear from the voice of the Chiefs, Mitch Holthus, about the upcoming season. Plus, the Pittsburgh State Gorillas opened their season with a statement win last night. Jacob Leonard has a look at some of the key players from the game when we return.
Pittsburgh State Gorillas picked up a big win last night to begin the season. The Gorillas went on the road and beat 13th-ranked Central Missouri 35-16 in their first MIAA conference game since 2019. Quarterback Max Sexton, sometimes known as his alter ego Mark, he had himself a big night. Sexton threw for 223 yards and 4 touchdowns. He also added a rushing touchdown. Sexton, not the only one doing work last night. Here's a look at some other key players. Running back Tucker Horak went over 100 yards rushing on the night. Christian Carter did the same receiving, adding a touchdown. The former Pittsburgh High School standout Elijah Harris caught 2 touchdown passes. And on the defensive side, Dallas Flowers and former Webb City Cardinal Alex Gaskill each came up with an interception. Missouri Southern football did not fare as well as a team, as they fall 38-0 to Nebraska Kearney last night. But these local guys, they showed up for the Lions. Former Joplin running back Nathan Glades carried it 18 times for 63 yards. Then on defense, more Southwest Missouri guys. Coleman Booker out of East Newton High School led the way with 12 tackles, while Carthage product Colton Winder made 10 stops. The Kansas City Chiefs are just 9 days away from kicking off their season. The Chiefs host the Cleveland Browns on September 12th in their season opener. Now, the voice of the Chiefs, Mitch Holthus, joined us in studio last night to talk about the Chiefs' season, including the complete overhaul of the offensive line.
I said it's something old, something new, something borrowed, something red, okay, to use the old phrase. But you make the trade for Orlando Brown Jr., you go pay Joe Tooney, expensive but a good player, and then you get rookie opt-out guy. But the 2 rookies, they hit. And we get a lot of OU fans that watch this. Creed Humphrey's been outstanding. Trey Smith could be an Offensive Rookie of the Year candidate at right guard. He's been fantastic. What it does with those young offensive linemen who can move now is bring back Coach Reed's 2013, 14, 15 playbook of the screen game. And it's some countermeasures to what people do to try to slow down Mahomes. And so back when they had Rodney Hudson at center, now with Creed and Trey Smith, you're going to see a lot of different stuff offensively.
You can check out our full interview with Holthus on Sunday on the Toyota Sunday Night Sports feed at 10 o'clock on KOAM. Now that's a look at sports. Be sure to join us right back here on Fox 14 at 11 o'clock for our very first Press Box show of the season. Now that's a 30-minute show. All football. We'll have high school football highlights and scores from all across the area. We're back with more news after this.
Welcome back to your News at 9. With some veteran nurses facing burnout and leaving the profession due to the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic, new nursing programs in Florida are hoping to reverse the trend with new recruits. Fox News' Brianna Arredondo has more.
St. Leo University just started classes for its new nursing program this week, and a couple of students tell us why the pandemic did not make them second-guess their career choice.
Nurses are among the healthcare heroes of the pandemic, dealing with constant trauma, stress, and care. And that did not deter these new recruits, Emma Hayhurst and Emily Edwards.
It made me more interested in the nursing program because of how much I realized the nurses did.
You get to be with the people and actually physically speak to them rather than just give a diagnosis.
They are part of the first class of nurses from St. Leo University's new program that started this year, and they begin as veterans in the field face burnout, and COVID makes an existing staffing problem worse.
We had wondered if the pandemic might have a negative impact on student enrollments in the nursing program.
St. Leo's Kathy Van Erden tells us remotely her students have the heart for the work. Emma actually worked at a nursing home during COVID. She says she saw firsthand how bad the need is.
The nursing home I worked at was so short-staffed, and that's why I actually reached out, because I want to find one around here just to help out the community and pick up shifts.
Emily tells us she studied infectious diseases in high school and enjoys the personal touch nurses give. She knows burnout is a reality, but that doesn't affect her focus.
I'm actually taking a choosing wellness class here right now, and we're focusing a lot on the stress and how to handle that. So if I have a background in that, it'll help me later in life when the stress does pile on.
The pandemic gives nursing students a unique view, and new students say that motivates them.
I'm hoping by the time we do get out of school and I'm in it, we have more of a grip on how to handle these things, so for the future we'll have a better starting point rather than the panic that we were first in at the beginning.
It will be a few more years before these students start working full-time in nursing, but they say they will be ready to hit the ground running with a new perspective.
Boxing legend Oscar de la Hoya has been hospitalized with COVID-19. The 48-year-old boxing superstar posted a video to Twitter showing himself in a hospital bed. De la Hoya says he contracted the virus despite the fact that he is fully vaccinated. The former world champion was scheduled to fight Vitor Belfort at the Staples Center in Los Angeles on September 11th, but that was before he tested positive. Coming up, you will learn how a Scottish whiskey distillery is turning waste from its product into fuel for its delivery trucks. Whiskey and driving don't usually mix well, unless it is to help the environment. Whiskey giant Glenfiddich is using waste from its spirits to power its trucks. Fox News' Tina Kraus is in London. She's got the story.
Whiskey has been fueling people for centuries, but a distillery in Scotland has found another use for it. Scottish whiskey giant Glenfiddich is now running its delivery trucks on waste generated during the whiskey making process.
And using the gas to power our trucks is a real first, and it's something that Glenfiddich have been able to bring together.
Researchers in Edinburgh came up with the concept of using whiskey residue to power vehicles.
In the production of whiskey, less than 10% of what comes out of the distillery is actually the primary product.
The rest is known as draff. The spent barley grains and leftover liquid combine to create an eco-friendly biofuel.
So we now have vehicles that we can use to transport our goods and our spirits around the country that comes from a renewable source and is ultra low carbon.
Glenfiddich says biogas cuts carbon dioxide emissions by 95%, so it's working to convert its entire fleet. From the highlands to the highways, the greener fuel is sure to go down smooth.
The Scotch Whisky Association hopes other distillers will start using biofuels in their trucks as well. They have set a net zero target across the industry by the year 2040. A deer in Lake County, Illinois is free once again after getting its antlers stuck in a rope swing. The Lake County Sheriff's Office says the deer was nervous and thrashing around. It ultimately took 3 rounds of anesthetics to get the deer to calm down. Once the deer was groggy enough, the rope was safely removed from its antlers and the deer went on its way. Hey, well, thanks so much for tuning in on this Friday evening. We will leave you with some videos of monkeys in Bali. I hear they are breaking into people's houses for food. And I'll be here all weekend, so be sure to stop by for more KOAM News at 9 on Fox 14. Have a great night, and of course, stay safe out there.